I'm only going to speak for a few moments because after the Torah reading and half-Torah reading, we're going to welcome up to the bima Elchanan, who's going to talk about his experiences just 3 weeks ago in Khan Yunis. And I'm so grateful to Max for bringing us. And I also want to begin my remarks today by welcoming back David Berger to our congregation. David just completed his service in the IDF and returns to us from the northern border, and we're so proud of all of you. We stand with all of you, and we're so proud of your dedication to the Jewish people. This is a very special Shabbat for our family because it's actually today that is Baz Yurtzeit. And so I can't explain to you how meaningful it was that Yossi asked for Simon to lead the congregation in the Shema and the Amidah as the one who carries Baz's name. The Torah this week reflects a complicated story in which the Jewish people panic. Depending on the interpretation, Moses is either gone for 6 hours longer, 12 hours longer, or 24 hours longer than he explained to the Jewish people that he would be. But in the moment that he does not arrive, complete hysteria ensues, and we endeavor to create the sin for which we are still repenting for in the golden calf. And I have to tell you that the reason that I understand the story, and the reason that I think so many of us understand this kind of human quality of anxiety and panic, is because I experienced it. I experienced it in Baz's passing. To think that your family has a patriarch who knows all of the answers, who has steered you in the right direction his entire life, and to think that one day that's no more, is devastating. I think about it each and every time I walk into each of your homes for Shiva. Just like all of you, we coped the best that we could. And then weeks and weeks later, we finally received the rabbinic advice that we had been looking for, because after all, the hero of every story I tell has to be a rabbi. And so the rabbinic advice came weeks and weeks later when my parents had decided to take us to a movie after such a dark period in our family's life. And the movie that they selected for us was the movie Lion King, because it was supposed to be a Disney childish animated film. Needless to say, there's a large portion of the movie that's dedicated to Simba losing his way. And there's a scene where Mufasa comes and is in the sky, and he tells Simba how disappointed he is. And I'll never forget for the life of me, turning over and looking at my dad, sobbing. There was this cathartic moment that occurred for our family during The Lion King. And it's not lost on me that Mufasa appears in the heavens above the mountain. And the reassurance that he receives in the sage advice from Rav Mufasa is, I live in you. I live in you. This is the missing verse from the Torah this week. What the children of Israel needed to hear in this moment from Moses and from God was, even if they're not with us for a moment, the power of the Torah, the power of our people, is that we have one another, and that leadership is passed on from generation to generation, because Moses' teaching wasn't meant to be bound up in Moses' physical being. It lives in us. We live through each other. And so I thought it would be so fitting on Baz Yahrzeit to welcome soldiers here who prove that the strength of the Jewish people isn't a cabinet room, isn't any singular individual. Even in moments of panic, when we look for an idol, it's not who we're supposed to be. The strength of our people is that we have each other. It always has been. The children of Israel didn't understand it. They didn't understand that standing at the base of that mountain, there was no need to worry, because it was the way that it was supposed to be. We weren't ready. We weren't ready. So many families on the seventh day or the third day or whatever day you choose to finish Shiva, so many families aren't ready. Because we're looking for somebody to sit in that seat at the head of the table, somebody to tell us what to do. And I have to stop now because I'm going to get dangerously close to Simon's bar mitzvah speech that I'm already beginning to plan in my head. You're all invited, of course, June 8th. Mark it out in your calendars. But the reason that we give the name Shimon to our son is to make sure that he understands that Ba lives in him. And for all of us to understand that Ba continues to live with us, not through his physical being, but through his teachings. Moses was more than a man. Moses was emblematic of everything that we hold dear in life as a Jewish people. And in this moment, what's most reassuring to me as a rabbi, as a father, and as a Jew, is that the people who seem to understand what's required for us in this time, in this moment of crisis, are those who are the youngest amongst us. And so as we welcome up to this bima a parade of young, courageous people who stepped forward and heard the call and said that this catastrophe requires a response, and the response begins with me, we should all know that the words of Mufasa, Rav Mufasa, continue. Moses lives through them.